Started too.
Hello, 4th graders. Somebody wants to say hi. She messed up our other video. Say hi, Katie.
Hi.
You can't even see yourself. Say hi, Katie.
Hi,
Katie. There she is. She is my assistant for the day, apparently. Why are you making silly faces at everybody? Okay, stop messing with my document camera. Stop it.
I turned it off.
All right. We have to learn about line plots. So can you give us a minute? Please?
Please.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go on. Go on outside and play.
Oh, this one. I hope I got it.
Go tell Daddy.
To Daddy?
Yep, go tell Daddy you're hungry. Thank you.
I want cheese crackers.
You're not getting my cheese crackers. All right, go. Shoot.
Only have one?
Go on.
Why your picture saying blocks?
Bye, Katie. Sorry about that, guys. Anyhow, so day 4, week 3, we're going into the instructional packet. Yesterday, or day 3, we introduced line plots. Today we're going to get some more practice with some line plots and looking at them in different ways. So, whoo, that was my hair. The top of the page, this is the instructional book, page 290, lesson 27. The students in Miss Holbrook's class are growing plants. One day they measured the heights of the plants in inches. The heights are shown below. Make a line plot to represent the data. So we have all of this data. These are the heights of the plants in the classroom. They're telling us we can use a number or use fractions to label our number line. We see that the data has representations of halves, fourths, and eighths. So we're going to take the smallest unit, an eighth, to label the number line. So we're going to divide the number line into 8 equal sections because we're using an eighth, and they've already done that. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, so on. They also give you this neat model of a fraction bar. It says you can use fraction bars to find equivalent fractions. We remember this back in our fractions unit back in January and February. It says the fraction bar shows that the following fractions are equivalent. A half is equal to 1/2, 2/4. 2/4 is equivalent to 4/8. We need to know this because we're going to have to change some fractions around, right? Because if they want us to do anything with this data, any kind of adding or subtracting, all of our denominators are going to have to be the same. So we might have to switch some of these mixed numbers around. Let's see. This is page 291. All right. Number 2 says use picture it to help you write these fractions as eighths. Well, they already kind of gave us that hint. What do you got? If we look, we want to see what a half is equivalent to. Well, a half is equivalent to 2/4, which is equivalent to 4/8. So a half would be 4/8. A fourth would be 1/4 equals 2/8. And 3/4 would be what? If 3/4 would be right here, okay, each of these is an eighth. 3/4 would be equal to how many eighths? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would be equal to 6/8. Another way we could do this, if we know that we want a denominator of 8, we can take our fraction, let's take 3/4, and we divide 4 by 8 to find out what we multiplied in order to get an 8. So we know that we have to multiply 2 to 4 in order to get to 8. 2 times 4 is 8. And remember, whatever we do to the top, we must do to the bottom. 3 times 2 is 6. And then we're just going to go down here and label our number line. And I'll pause this just for a second so I can label it real quick. Okay, so I went through and I went ahead and I numbered the number line. This was kind of hard because I didn't have a lot of room to write. So you're having a hard time with it, so did I. I hate writing small. Here we go. And we'll just zoom in a little bit so you guys can see that. So we have 1, 1 and 1/8, 1 and 2/8, 1 and 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and then we have 1 and 8/8, which is the same as 2. 2 and an 1/8, 2 and 2/8, 2 and 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 2 and 8/8, which is 3. Number 4 is asking us to use the number line in problem 3, make a line plot of the plant heights below, and then find equivalent fractions and eighths for data that includes halves and fourths. Alright, so we need our line plot. So we're going to start off, I'm going to make this one just a little bit bigger because I kind of ran out of some room. I hate running out of room. And we're just going to move this number line onto this line plot. I'll show you. We're going to start with 1, and then we have 1 and 1/8, 1 and 2/8, and I'll pause so I can finish this real quick. And there we have our line plot. If you need a little bit of extra time filling this out, just pause the video and restart it when you are ready. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to graph our data onto our line plot. And you want to turn back to page 290, okay, and look at your list of data and start inputting those. So we're going to start with 2 and 5/8. Remember, you're making your marks above the value. Your tally is above the value. We have 2 and an 1/8, and I'm just kind of going down the line. 2 and 3/8, 2 and 7/8, 2, 1 and 1/4. So our fourth is the same as 2/8, so it's 1 and 2/8. And then we have 1 1/2, and our half was worth 4/8. So we have 1 and 4/8. Hang on one second, guys. Okay. We stopped at, sorry, I had to take that phone call. That was a parent. We stopped at, we had 2, 1 1/4, which was the same as 1 and 2/8. 1 1/2, that was the same as 1 and 4/8. 1 and 7/8, there we go. 2 and 3/4, which is the same as 6/8, so 2 and 6/8. 1 and 3/4, which was the same as 6/8. 1 and 5/8. I'm going to pause this, you know what, just so I can keep going. Alrighty, so this is what your line plot should look like. It says just, we have, what we had to do was we had to take, when we saw like 3/4, we had to go up here and use this key and say 3/4 is the same as 6/8. So we had 2 6/8, we had 2 5/8, or 2 1 and 5/8. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 plants that were 1 and 7/8 long. So how are we going to describe how to make a line plot with the data that includes the fractions? Well, we drew a number line. Draw a number line. We divided it into eighths. That was based on the smallest unit we had. Because remember, going back here, the smallest unit was an eighth. That's why we decided to do this in eighths. And then we marked an X above a number for each time it appeared in our data. Boom. And it looks like we're going to do the same thing down here. It says Al records the length of some fish in inches. So we have 9/4, 10 halves, 10 5/8, 9 3/4, 9 7/8, 10, 10 1/8, 9. All right. So again, we're going to go with our smallest unit, which is an eighth. So we're going to draw the number line. We're going to draw the number line. We're going to start with, looks like 9, because that's my smallest whole number. We're doing this in eighths, so we're going to say this is 9. This is 9 1/8, 9 2/8, 9 3/8, 9 4/8. So here's our number line. We divided it up into eighths, and we're going to start marking our numbers. Now this says 9 1/4. We need an equivalent of a fourth, which is 2/8. So this actually is going to be 9 2/8, which is right here. There we go. My X over there. I got 10 1/2. A half is the same as 4/8. So we want 10 4/8. Got you, got you. We have 10 5/8. 9 3/4. 3/4 is worth 6/8. So we have 9 6/8. Got you. 9 7/8. 10 1/8. And another 9 3/4, which is 9 6/8. And then 10 3/8. And that's all we need to do. Make sure you label it. These are the fish lengths. And these are lengths in inches. Beautiful. Hang on one second. Practice book, page 293. We're going to jump right into it. You can read through the example if you need to, but all it looks like is they had their equivalent fractions, they drew their line plot, and then they inputted the data. They didn't really ask too much from you from there. Down here, though, we have the height of 4th graders was measured on the first day of school and on the last day of school. The growth in inches of some students is listed below. Here we go. We're looking at fourths, halves, and eighths. It says, write the data in eighths using the equivalent fractions. Here we go. So we have 3. We know that 3/4 is the same as 6/8. And they even have you that key up here to show you so you don't have to go through the math. So this is the same as 1 6/8. A quarter is the same as 2/8. So we have 2 2/8. So got you, got you, got you. We have 1 1/2. A half is 4/8. So we have 1 4/8. And we have 2 1/4 is worth 2/8. And it says complete the line plot below to represent the data. So we're going to take this data and we're going to put it on our line plot. So we have 3, 1 6/8, 2 2/8. I'm just going to put my tallies right above my numbers. 1 4/8, 2 2/8 again, and 2 7/8. Turning the page in our practice book to page 294, we're looking at number 3. Number 3 says, look at the measurements in inches listed below. What fraction could be labeled on a number line with a line plot of the data? Circle all that apply. So looking at the data, we could do it in fourths or eighths because we can't make this fourth a half. So we got to take our smallest units. So we only have 2 units here that are smaller than a half. And that would be our fourths and eighths. Then we have Micah's dog has 8 puppies. The length in inches of each puppy is listed below. It says draw a line plot to represent the data. So let's look at our denominators. We have fourths, eighths, and halves. We're going to use our smallest unit, which is an eighth. So we're going to start here, go somewhere over here. We're going to start with 4. So here's 4. And then this would be 4 and 1/8, 4 and 2/8, 4 and 3/8, 4 and 4/8, 4 and 5/8, 4 and 6/8, 4 and 7/8, and then 5. And we want to represent that data, so we need to put this data into our chart. So we have 4. Remember, 3/4 is the same as 6/8. So 4 and 3/4 is the same as saying 4 and 6/8. Then we have 4 and 3/8. A half is equivalent to 4/8. So that's going to be 4 and 4/8. 4 and 4/8 again. Then 4 and 7/8. A quarter is the same as 2/4. So we have 4 and 2/4. Or 4 and 2. Oh, my bad. A quarter would be worth 2/8. My bad. And then another 4. So how many measurements are recorded? Well, we can count our tallies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is the longest length of the puppy? Well, we're going to go all the way to the right of our line plot. We didn't have any values for 5, but we did have one puppy that came in at 4 and 7/8 inches. So that's going to be our longest puppy. What is the shortest puppy? Well, over here are your Chihuahuas. Those both were the same as 4 inches. How many puppies are less than or equal to 4.5? So 4.5, a half is the same as 4/8. So we want 4 and 4/8. We want to know how many puppies are smaller than that or the same. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We counted this 4/8 in because it gave us this key word, or equal to. If it didn't say or equal to, we wouldn't count those puppies that were at the 4.5 mark. Behave yourself. Come on now. Unfuzz yourself. There it goes. How many puppies are greater than 4.5 inches in length? So this isn't asking greater or equal to, it just wants to know how many are bigger. And we only have 2 puppies over here that are bigger than that. For our countdown today, let me get resituated. My leg started falling asleep. For our countdown today, we're on day 5. It says, which of the following equations represents the comparison sentence? 56, remember that is the same as equal, 7 times as many as 8. So we know that this one's right. We know that one's wrong because that's addition. That one's wrong because it's subtraction. And that one's wrong because it is multiplying the wrong number. You don't start behaving. It's our last video of the day. Come on now. Number 2 says Pat has 12 times as many model cars as John. So Pat has 12 times as many model cars as John. John has 6. 12 times 6, well, 12 times 5 is 60. Then we can just count back up. 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72. 72. Or we could have just multiplied 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 1, 6 times the 1 is 6, add the 1 in, and you get 7. Number 3, Junior has 14 times as many computer games as Ken. Ken has 7. Select the expression that shows how many games Junior has. Well, remember when we have a number next to a parenthesis, it is implied that we are multiplying. So 14 parenthesis 7 is the same as 14 times 7. Come on. I need you to behave. Then we have 7 times 1 in parentheses times 14. Well, 7 times 1 is 7. And then that becomes that. So that's right. 7 times 1 is 7. Times 7 plus 7 is 14. That one's right. 7 times 7. Ooh, that's not going to work because 7 times 7 is 49. Times 7 again. That's going to be way too big. Then we have 7 plus 1, which would be 8, times 14, which is not right either. So it's just the first 3 that are right. Number 4, Johnny has 64 marbles. He has 64 marbles. Mark has M marbles. If Johnny has 16 times as many marbles as Mark, M, how many marbles does Mark have? So we have our equation. I was able to write it as I read it. He had 64. He had 16 times as many as Mark. If we wanted to find out exactly how much he had, we switch our operations around and we do the opposite. So 16 divided by 16 is 1. 64 divided by 16 is, well, I know that 16 times 2 is 32, so 16 times 4 would be 64. So 4 equals M. Let's see if this problem works itself out the way it's supposed to. Here lately, the last one on each of these countdowns has not been right. Alright, number 5. Miss O'Neill has 9 times as many markers as colored pencils. The total number of markers and colored pencils is 110. So we have 110 altogether. She has 9 times as many markers as she has colored pencils. We're going to flip these around and divide it out. Those cancel out. 9 goes into 110. 9 goes into 11. 1 time. That multiply, subtract, bring it down. See? It just doesn't work out. 2 times 9 is 18. Cross that off. So she's going to have 12 with 2 remaining. So we're just going to, I guess we'll say B, but that's not the right answer. The right answer would be 12 remainder 2. Anyway, that concludes day 4. We've done our instructional, we've done our practice, we did our countdown. Now you need to do your I ready. Please, please, please be making sure you are sending me pictures of your work so I can hold you accountable. I don't know how we're going to be grading them yet, but I would really like to get some feedback to you guys so you can see how you're doing. Is there anything else I need to tell you about? Nope, I think that's it. As always, give it a little while for the uploads to happen. It takes a while, okay, guys? I appreciate your patience. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.